I'm a surgeon. My patients have been exhibiting symptoms of parasites. As an orthopedic surgeon, I was no stranger to the uncanny and bizarre. But nothing prepared me for the outbreak that swept through our hospital, turning an ordinary day into a nightmare. It was a simple knee replacement surgery. The patient was an elderly man complaining of constant pain in his joints. He was cheerful and optimistic about the procedure, hoping it would help him get back to his daily walks. During the operation, I made the first incision. Beneath the skin and muscle, however, I didn't find the worn-out joint I expected. Instead, I found a writhing mass of tiny black spiders flooding out from the open wound. The sight of it sent shivers down my spine, turning my stomach. Panic erupted in the operating room. My surgical assistant fainted while the anesthetist stumbled back in shock, knocking over trays of surgical tools. Time of death, 11:17 a.m., I declared, voice shaking. Call in the bio team immediately. The hazmat team arrived shortly, shrouded in their ominous yellow suits. They sealed off the room, dousing it with chemicals to contain the strange infestation. Twice in 1 week, Doc. One of them, a stocky man named Max, handed me a white biosuit like his. I wish it were under better circumstances, Max, I replied, pulling on the suit. Any idea where these spiders are coming from? His shrug was barely visible under his suit. Higher-ups aren't saying much. As we conversed, a shriek echoed from the hallway. I turned to see my surgical nurse, her hazmat suit teeming with spiders. They crawled from her eyes and mouth, a grotesque sight that made me feel sick. She fell to the floor, convulsing as the spiders swarmed over her. Max looked at me, grim. Looks like you need a new nurse. I nodded, heart pounding. She was a good one. As the bio team wheeled away the bodies, I realized the hazmat suits weren't to protect us from the spiders. They were to contain them should we become infected. Max led me to a sterile white chamber with a single shower head. I stripped down, discomforted by the decontamination process, but it was necessary to ensure the safety of the hospital. As I showered in the misty blue gas, I pondered over the outbreak. I hoped it would end soon for everyone's sake. Max left me in isolation with a fresh set of scrubs in my phone. Alone, I turned to the internet to distract myself, preparing for a long 24 hours. But as I scrolled, I felt a tickle on my arm. A single black spider crawled across my skin. My heart dropped. The contagion had reached me too. I can't shake off this feeling that something is following my daughter. I, 39M, think something is following my daughter, 15F, lately. It all started a few days ago when she came home after attending a sleepover at her friend's house. Ever since then, she has been distant and withdrawn, refusing to open up to me or her mother. This behavior is completely out of character for her, and it has me genuinely concerned. My worries escalated further last night. It was well past midnight when I woke up to the sound of muffled cries and whispers coming from my daughter's room. Alarmed, I rushed to her aid and flung open the door, only to find her sitting upright on her bed, her eyes fixated on something unseen. I scanned the room looking for the source of her distress, and then I saw it, a horrifying figure hanging from the ceiling. Its claws were dug into the roof and its eyes were glowing red. It was staring at my daughter, not looking away. I didn't know what to do. I had no idea what this entity wanted or how it had come to be, but I knew I had to protect my daughter at all costs. Morning has broken, but the night's events have left me sleepless and on edge. My daughter remains confined to her room, and I haven't had the courage to enter it since that dreadful encounter. Desperate for answers and a solution, I contemplate seeking help from a paranormal expert or a spiritual guide who might be able to shed light on this haunting presence. Update. I finally reached out to a renowned paranormal investigator. As soon as she arrived at our home, I could see the concern etched on her face. It was evident that she sensed a very strong evil presence. There was a demon hanging from my daughter's ceiling. She informed me that my daughter had brought a demon home. How or why this had happened, she couldn't say. Update 2. Tonight, as I was going through my nightly routine, a chilling sensation crept over me while I was standing in front of the bathroom mirror. I felt a presence, and when I looked up, my blood ran cold. There it was, a grotesque figure with elongated limbs, gleaming red eyes, and jagged teeth. Dark liquid dripped from its mouth, staining my forehead with a single drop of blood. Panic surged through my veins as I wiped away the crimson stain, my mind racing with terrifying thoughts. Could this be my daughter's blood? Fueled by fear and desperation, I raced to my daughter's room, only to find her lifeless body lying on the floor. her once vibrant eyes now wide open, adorned with that same unsettling grin. Overwhelmed with grief, I couldn't bear to stay in that room any longer, so I retreated to my own bedroom. But even here, I can hear the scratching at my door, the relentless persistence of the malevolent entity outside. Time is running out, and I fear that our fate will soon be sealed. My brother keeps trying to call me. He's been dead for 7 years. My brother Jake died when he was 25 and I was 21. He was a soldier, lost too soon in a tragic battlefield accident. I was devastated. I had always been passionate about music, and Jake had always encouraged me to pursue my dreams. So I did. I chased my dream of becoming a music producer to honor my brother. By the time I was 28, I had a beautiful wife and a successful career in the music industry. Life was going well until I received a strange call. An unknown number flashed on my screen. Curiosity piqued, I picked up the call. All I heard was silence. After repeating hello a few times, the call ended. I brushed it off as a wrong number. Days later, I received another call from the same unknown number. This time I decided not to answer. In an attempt to trace the caller, I ran a Google search for the number. However, nothing turned up. The following week, while working late at the studio, I received yet another call. Without checking the caller ID, I assumed it was my wife and answered. "Hey babe, I'll be home late." To my surprise, a voice responded. "Andy, is that you?" I froze. The voice sounded eerily similar to Jake's. I managed to utter his name in disbelief, and he affirmed it was him. He urged me to meet him. I was devastated and angry. I demanded a proof that it was him. He then shared a secret only he and I knew about. The lyrics of a song we wrote together as kids. I was shocked. I rushed home, recounted the conversation to my wife. She was skeptical, thinking it was a cruel prank. Despite the uncanny resemblance, I too had my doubts. Jake and I texted back and forth for a few days. He suggested we meet up in a secluded park late at night. My wife was adamantly against it and convinced me not to go. Instead, she suggested we inform the police about the strange calls. As the agreed meeting time approached, I was about to message Jake to tell him I wouldn't be able to make it, but my wife suggested we wait until a few minutes after the meeting time to send the message. We later found out from the police that a man had been arrested in the same park that night, impersonating missing or deceased individuals to lure their loved ones. I was relieved that I had not fallen into his trap. However, I was also filled with guilt and sorrow for the others who had not been as fortunate. The experience served as a harsh reminder of the loss of my brother,